Did you know that the world's first clowns weren't funny? They were terrifying. Long before red noses and birthday parties, clowns were symbols of chaos, madness, and even death. Today we're diving into the real and, honestly, creepy origin story of the clown. And trust me, it's not what you think. When we hear the word clown, we imagine the circus, the bright wigs, the silly shoes, the honking horn. But the truth is, the clown is one of humanity's oldest and strangest creations. Across thousands of years, people have dressed up to mock, to entertain, and to disturb. Behind that painted smile hides a much darker history, one that links clowns to gods, rituals, and rebellion. Before the circus, before Ronald McDonald, before Pennywise, there was the first clown, and their job wasn't to make you laugh, it was to make you think. Let's go way back, about 4,000 years ago, ancient Egypt. In the courts of the pharaohs, there were entertainers known as dwarves and jesters. But unlike the circus clowns we know today, these figures were considered sacred. They were believed to be touched by the gods, living between the world of humans and the divine. One famous example was Deng, a dwarf who performed for pharaohs during Egypt's 5th dynasty. He danced, told jokes, and even gave spiritual advice. The Egyptians believed laughter was a bridge to the gods, a kind of holy magic. Meanwhile, in ancient China, there was a man named Usi, the personal jester of Emperor Shi Huangti, the same emperor who built the Great Wall. Legend says Usi was the only man brave enough to mock the emperor to his face. When the emperor wanted to paint the entire Great Wall white, Usi cracked a joke about the absurd cost and convinced him not to do it. One joke saved thousands of lives. So from the very beginning, clowns weren't just funny, they were truth-tellers. They said what no one else dared to say. They mocked kings to keep them humble. They were fools, but powerful fools. As civilizations rose and fell, the clown evolved. In ancient Greece, during theatrical festivals, there were parades of masked performers called komos, who mocked politicians and the rich. Then came Rome, where mimes and jesters mixed comedy with chaos. The Roman clowns were wild, obscene, and brutally honest. They could make a crowd laugh or turn a crowd against an emperor. That's why Roman rulers both loved and feared them. When Rome collapsed, the fool survived. In medieval Europe, the royal court jester became a symbol, the licensed idiot. He was the only person allowed to mock the king. His humor could insult anyone, even the most powerful. There's a famous story about Triboulet, the jester of King Francis I of France. One day, he insulted the queen. The king was furious and sentenced him to death. But Triboulet used his wit to save himself. He said, "If I must die, let it be from old age." The king laughed and spared his life. Even the church couldn't escape laughter. During medieval feasts of fools, cousins dressed as bishops and priests danced in the streets and mocked religion itself. For one day, the world was upside down. The poor became kings. The sacred became ridiculous. It was both comedy and protest. And here's something strange most people don't know. The medieval fool's costume, with the bells, bright colors, and horns, was designed to look like a devil, because laughter was dangerous. To laugh at power was to flirt with sin. The first clowns didn't hide from evil. They became it, just long enough to mock it. Now, let's jump to Renaissance Italy. This is where the clown we recognize today was born, in the theaters of Commedia dell'arte. Traveling actors played the same funny characters again and again. Arlecchino, or Harlequin, was the mischievous servant. Pulcinella was the sarcastic hunchback. Pantalone, the greedy old man. Harlequin became the star, fast, clever, always in trouble, and always making fun of the powerful.
His diamond-patterned costume and black mask became famous across Europe. But Harlequin wasn't just silly, he was a trickster. He represented the poor who used humor to outsmart the rich. Audiences loved him because he gave them hope. As theater evolved, the clown left the streets and entered the circus. And one man defined this new era: Joseph Grimaldi. Grimaldi performed in London in the early 1800s. He wore white face paint, red lips, and blue diamonds around his eyes, the look that every clown still copies today. He was brilliant, physical, and full of energy. He invented the slapstick style: pratfalls, tumbling, chaos. But offstage, Grimaldi's life was heartbreaking. He lost his wife and son and ended his life crippled and depressed. He once said, "I am grim all day." That's actually where the English word grim got its dark twist. So behind every painted smile, there was sadness. Behind every laugh, a little pain. Then came the darker turn. By the late 19th century, clowns weren't mocking kings anymore, they were mocking society itself. They became mirrors, reflecting human hypocrisy. And that scared people. The Victorians loved manners and appearances, but clowns, with their painted faces and exaggerated smiles, represented everything hidden beneath the surface. They were masks hiding chaos. Writers began using them as symbols of madness and tragedy. Edgar Allan Poe wrote Hop Frog, a story about a jester who kills a cruel king. Charles Dickens, who knew Grimaldi personally, wrote about a clown who made others laugh while dying inside. The clown was no longer just funny, he was haunted. By the early 20th century in America, the circus clown had become a household figure. But something about that face, that frozen grin, began to unsettle people. He was too fake, too perfect, too forced. Children laughed, but sometimes they cried. And then came the real horror. In the 1970s, a man named John Wayne Gacy worked as a children's party clown called Pogo. He seemed harmless until it was revealed that he was a serial killer. He murdered at least 33 young men and boys. The world was shocked. Overnight, the clown's smile turned from friendly to monstrous. From that moment on, clowns were never the same. Movies like Poltergeist, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and of course, Stephen King's It, turned the clown into a universal nightmare. But here's the truth. The darkness was always there. The clown didn't suddenly become evil. We just started to see what it really was, a reflection of our own hidden fears. All right, time for some strange clown facts you probably didn't know. Fact number 1. The word clown first appeared in English around the year 1500. It didn't mean funny person, it meant clumsy peasant. Basically, country idiot. Fact number 2. In 2008, researchers asked hundreds of children if they liked clown decorations in hospitals. Almost none of them did. The study literally concluded that clowns are universally disliked by children. Fact number 3. Some Native American tribes, like the Lakota and Hopi, have sacred clowns called Heyoka or Kachina. They act backwards, walking in reverse, saying hello when they mean goodbye. They use humor to teach lessons about life and humility. That's right, even in ancient traditions, the clown was never just about laughter. It was about truth. So, what's the real story of the first clowns? They weren't villains. They weren't just fools. They were the ones brave enough to speak truth through laughter. They reminded kings that they could fall, priests that they could sin, and people that life is absurd. Through humor, they helped humanity face the chaos of existence. But over time, the clown lost its sacred purpose. It became entertainment without meaning. And maybe that's why we fear it now. Because somewhere deep down, we sense the truth behind the mask. The clown is us, pretending, performing, hiding pain behind a smile. So the next time you see a clown in a parade, a circus, or a horror movie, remember that painted grin has been around for over 4,000 years, and it's always been more it seems. Which everyday thing should we explore next? Tell us in the comments, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time.